welcome to our Week 8 football show presented by KK Collision. Honored to have the Columbus Grove folks with us tonight, along with Tory, Strock, and Groll. Columbus Grove head coach Andy Schafer, Todd Hoffman on the end, Landen Huston, and Justin Norway from Columbus Grove joining us tonight. Guys, thank you so much. We are honored that you're here. We have another segment coming up with a couple more Columbus Grove folks as well in our special military segment tonight. And if you can see that far board over there, Coach Schafer had that made and has all of the past football players, right, that went on to serve in the military, Coach?
Yeah, if you played football at Columbus Grove and then went on to serve in any branch of the military, we put your name on there. Was not an easy project to do. I started it back in March. And I wouldn't say that it's finished. I think we're still finding some people. In fact, we just slapped on a couple people a couple days ago. So we're going to have it displayed at the game Friday night. I think it'll grab more people's attention. And, if we need to make it bigger, we can. It's actually a pretty big sign right now, but that'll eventually hang in our locker room. Just a reminder of respect for the people that have kind of come before us.
Yeah, that is outstanding. Coach Schafer, you get to Grove, and why has military been so big for you guys? Because this is your military week. You have one of those every year. When did that start at Columbus Grove?
I knew that question was going to be asked as when it started. I'll be honest with you, it didn't just. I can't just put a finger on it. I've been at Grove for 14 years, so I'm going to guess around 10 or 11 years ago. It was fairly early. But what happened was it was kind of a push from the OHSAA, and they were kind of doing something. And so we were like, yeah, we'll jump on board. That sounds like a great idea. But I guess I didn't see the magnitude of what that actually meant at the time. And so what happened was I'll never forget my first, I'll start here. My very first experience at Columbus Grove, being the head coach at Clymer Stadium. And we lined up to do the national anthem, and I saw the color guard, at attention with the guns and did the salute. And I kid you not, I had tears in my eyes. It was just one of the most awe-inspiring, respectful things. And I instantly started thinking that not only football is different here, there's some other things that are different in Columbus Grove because I was an outsider. And, my wife, she had a grandpa that graduated from, lived in the community of Columbus Grove and raised his kids there, and he served in the military. And I started to understand when I would spend time with him, what it really meant. And he's passed away by now, but it was, I don't know, it was just really different. And so what happened was we started kind of talking about it more, and it just got bigger and bigger, and it was more than just a game. So I'll be honest, I don't like to talk about when did it start, because I don't think we did it right when it started. It was just a game, but now it's more than a game. It's a complete celebration. It almost changes you a little bit. It's pretty big, yeah. This is why I brought these guys to maybe talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, tell us about these guys and why you did bring them.
Yeah, do you mind? Does it matter who I start with?
No,
okay.
No.
Yeah, no. So I'll start with Todd Hoffman. So I've coached his kids in the game of football, and got to know Todd. Definitely a big supporter of Columbus Grove sports. I could tell that right off the bat. He also knows the history about everything. He's not as nerdy as Ned Stexley, but he certainly knows his Columbus Grove history. I'll put it that way. And I found out early on that Todd served in the military as well. And I think what was cool was, each year I like to bring in a guest speaker. And there was one year that I brought in a guest speaker that wasn't from Grove and that served in the military, and he did an okay job, but I didn't think it really fit. It didn't click. There's just something about having somebody from your own hometown talk, and Todd got to speak to our team and did an amazing job, and I got to see, again, I'm not outsider that didn't grow up in the community, but I got to see what it means to be a football player at Columbus Grove, but also serve in Columbus Grove, serve our country, and represent Columbus Grove. It just means something different. So that's exactly why I brought Todd along, because I thought he could give that perspective that I couldn't, honestly.
go through the other two guys you have
Oh,
with
yeah,
you too
sure.
here. Yeah.
So Landen Huston, Landen just graduated last year and was a heck of a linebacker for us. Doesn't look like it now. He's been in training. Landen could talk about this a little bit more, but he really wants to be an Army Ranger. And that's just you want to talk about commitment. You want to talk about loyalty and work ethic and that kind of stuff. Landen encompasses all that. And I don't think, and Landen will be the first one to admit it, I don't think it did when he was younger, but things started to click within the program and he really grew up and honestly changed. And so sometimes I see people, when they graduate high school, they kind of peaked and then I don't know what they do. And Landen just was like, I take that focus from football and I'm going to put it right towards the military. And it's just been really cool to see it. It grabs everybody's attention because, as our kids act like they're tired after practice, all of a sudden they'll see Landen working his tail off in the weight room or out running miles around, the community and that kind of stuff. So it's really cool to see. Justin Norway, I brought him along, so he's our representative of our current team. So obviously he can give a little bit perspective of what it means, but he's also kind of played it the last 4 years. But Justin's had a heck of a kind of a story a few years ago with an uncle. Fortunately passed away, but he was able to kind of talk to his uncle and tell him, what does it mean to kind of play for you? Because at Columbus Grove, we do something different. We ask the kids to put on their jersey. We stitch, which the jersey I think is behind me somewhere, right over there. We ask the kids to stitch the name of somebody on the back of their jersey and kind of play for that person. And so not only do they do that, but they also stand in front of the team Thursday night and kind of say, hey, I'm Andy Schafer. I'm going to be playing for my grandpa that served in World War I and, that kind of stuff. So it's really kind of awe-inspiring. And, it's kind of one of those special nights. These guys have all experienced it, but it really is a point in the season where you start to realize that, man, there's a lot more stuff bigger than football. And it also realizes that, man, I am a very selfish person. And there's some people out there that, I need to honor and that have done stuff for me. So, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Outstanding. Thank you guys so much. Justin, we'll start with you. What does military mean to you? And maybe touch on your uncle for us a little bit in that experience.
Yeah, so my uncle passed away. He passed away when I was my freshman year. So he got diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer in August of 22. Yeah, he got diagnosed with that. And then he was in the hospital for I'd say about 2 or 3 weeks. But then military week came around and I thought I'm definitely going to honor him because he's battling cancer and he's been in the military and he was one of those dudes that just meant a lot to me, and he was just a hard worker overall. He just wanted to be better for his family, and then he was also one of those dudes that just wanted to help everybody, whether it was in the community or whatnot. But yeah, so it definitely means a lot to me. I definitely think about it all throughout the week, and it's very important to me.
Coach, you shared that video with me, I know, a few years ago. Mm-hmm. My goodness, that's moving.
Yeah, I remember his parents kind of coming to me, when we talk about this stuff, we never know the stories behind the stories, in these kids' lives. But parents came to me and was like, I got a horrible request, but is there any way we can get the jersey earlier because I don't know if his uncle is going to make it. You remember that, Justin? Yeah, we were like, yeah, we'll do whatever. So we're calling the printing, we're calling the people that stitch the names on the back, and he was just going to break the news to him. And what was really cool was he was able to make it through that military game, and I think that was really special for Justin, obviously the whole family, and honestly for his uncle. I mean, it was one of those wins, and I did not serve, and Todd, you can definitely touch on this a little bit, but people that have served in the military never really ask you to hey, remember me, remember me, remember me, remember me. They don't, but they certainly appreciate it when you do. And that video of Justin sharing, hey, I'm going to play for you, and our team's going to honor the military. Wow, that changed me. I mean, it was, I never realized it was that big. So, yeah.
Todd, why did you want to serve?
I think it's kind of important for helping your community and your country. To me, I know a lot of people won't agree with me, but I think everybody should go in the military for 2 years. Serve 2 years, you get maybe college education money, but you also get discipline, a sense of worth. You know, the military brings a lot. There's a lot of things similar in sports to the military, and that's part of the reason I did. Plus, I like the dress blues of the Marine Corps.
Did you have family members that served before you?
An uncle that served in the Marine Corps, an uncle that served in the Army, my grandpa that served in the Army, and my grandpa Hoffman served in the Navy.
Wow, wow.
Todd, when you spoke to the team, I'm sure you remember speaking to the team. I don't expect you to rehash the whole thing, but what was the main part of your message? What did you want to leave them with that night?
Well, first of all, I was honored to do it. I mean, to me, it's an honor to serve your country and be able to even talk about it. There's a lot of people that didn't get to come back and talk about it. But I think the biggest thing I tried to get across to the team is how much it was the same as a unit in the military as you are as a football team. You know, if one person doesn't do their job in the military, it could cost the mission. One person doesn't do their job on the line or a block or, you know, do something here and there, run a fake, it can cost the team a score. Every play is designed to score. Now, if everybody does their job, we score on every play, but that doesn't always happen. So, but I mean, I think that's what I was trying to get across, is that you relied on this guy, and you may not even have known him until a year ago, but now he's your best friend because he's got to get you through, and you got to get him through, and it's teamwork. That's kind of what I tried to get across.
It's great.
Landon, you want to be a Ranger. Why do you want to be a Ranger?
I can't really sit here and say I have an exact reason why I want to be a Ranger. Just since I was a kid, I've always had the idea of wanting to serve in the military. But a couple years ago, I just really brought it to life. I don't really have an exact reason why. I just feel like as a person, I have to do it. I feel like it's my duty to go and serve my country. And
Was there a moment, Landon, where that light bulb turned on, where you said, do you remember a certain person that inspired you, a certain moment where you decided you wanted to do it?
Actually, I went to school at Apollo, and my junior year, we were it was some military guy came in and was just talking to us about, it was a recruiter for the Army, and he was talking to us about how he felt like he had to do it. And I went to Apollo with the intentions to get my CDL, and I wanted to become a construction worker. But what I was thinking about, I don't really want a regular 9-to-5 job. Me personally, I need something more intense than that. I'm not gonna lie, I'm definitely an adrenaline junkie, so it was just kind of right up my alley. So.
Is that true, Coach?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no question. Yeah.
There's obviously risk involved anytime you put yourself out there. How do your parents feel about your goals, Landon?
Yeah, they're definitely, I wouldn't say concerned, but I guess worried for my future. But my family's very, very religious. We go to church often, so I just kind of believe whatever happens it's planned to happen, and yeah, just.
People like myself that didn't serve, I feel like we're selfish. Guys like you that are going to serve, would you lay your life on the line for us? Why? How do you get to that mindset? Because it amazes me, and I will always be indebted to everybody that served our country.
Yeah, I can't really say this is why I would do that. I just love my country, and I don't really have an exact reason of why I would do that. It's just I feel like if it came to it, I definitely would.
I think I'm just going to add, because I know him really well, and I just think that he was just an absolute driven person. And there's just people that have that personality. And when they have it, they have to find a path. They have to find something that they're going after. So, no, I totally see it, Landon. When he said that he was going to do that, it was like, yep, I can see that. And I wouldn't say that for every kid that I've coached, and that's fine. Not everybody is called to serve in that way. But yeah, I see it in Landon. He's got that drive.
And I'll add something. During football, I was really driven. I wanted to be the best I could for my team and everything. But as soon as football was over, I said to myself, all right, this is my path, military, this is my new football. This is where I'm going to put all my energy and all my effort into. And I'll try my best to do that.
And I've seen it. Yeah, everybody has.
Todd, go ahead. That same
He's
question.
definitely going to get that more than 9-to-5 job. Day one.
Yeah.
But I think there's just, if nobody does it, what do we have? We have nothing to protect our country. And I'd rather fight a war overseas than to fight it here on this country soil. I think it takes a special person, because you don't know what you're going to do until that moment hits. I served in the Persian Gulf War. We didn't really see any combat, but we watched the planes fly over, bombs, and then the next thing you see is planes coming back with bombs still left on them. So they were doing their job. And we were fortunate enough that we have that technology today that we don't have to go hand-to-hand combat anymore, and that's good because it saves lives. But, I think something that's really changed over the time, probably since 9/11, was, and even the Persian Gulf War. I remember when we came back, we had Vietnam veterans coming up to us and thanking us. And I was like, no, we should be thanking you. We didn't do nothing compared to what you guys did. And they got treated pretty poorly by our own country. And I think that's sad, and I think it's really developed into a sense of pride now, what our military does and what it stands for. I think that's a lot of the reason I did it. And I think he'll do well at it. He's that kind of person.
I think what's cool is the history of Columbus Grove and how many people have served. And you look at that sign and you see how many names are on there. And that's not just the people that have served. Those are the people that played football that served. And you could essentially double that because I had a lot of names that were coming in. Hey, can they be on the sign and that kind of stuff? And I respectfully, there was a specific purpose for this sign. It was more for our football players that are currently playing to understand the importance that potentially serving our country, whether they did it or not, they should at least respect it. And so that's what that was. But what has been cool to me is, again, those names on the back of the jersey on a Thursday night when the kids stand up and share a person that they're playing for. And very rarely in the 10 years that we've been doing this have I had, like, you would think in a small town of Columbus Grove, we would have 5-6 guys say the same person. And Todd's talking about how there's not as many people, that because the war's kind of changing and the military's changing. But in Columbus Grove, there are so many people that have served that we're always having different names being said. And guys that have fought in Vietnam, World War I, World War II, you name the battle, we've had somebody from Grove there, not just there, but like leading in certain situations. It's insane. So it's definitely a different community, and my goal is for them to understand that respect.
Mm-hmm. Todd, what was your favorite and least favorite aspect of serving in the military?
Well, my least favorite was MREs.
Meals ready to eat?
Yeah. They weren't really ready to eat. Or even edible. But they're a lot better now from what I hear.
What was your favorite one, though, in your day?
I want to say probably beef and noodles. Add water.
Yeah.
Try to give it some texture. No, that's definitely one of my least. My favorite was probably I served as a Hawk missile system operator, which no longer exists. Patriot took over for that. And, we used to go out every January in the desert, and there'd be different battalions. We had 4 different battalions, and we'd all set up. And then they'd send a drone out, and then they'd send it back in, and the first unit to lock on it got to fire on it. And that was always a fun time because you actually got to see your job work. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you're out in the desert 10 miles away from your base and all you're doing is training in the desert and you're running cables that, you got to take them off a truck, hook cable up one end, run it to the command unit, and that's just no fun. Sometimes we did it in MOP level 4 to get ready for that kind of stuff. And 120-degree weather, you're not you're losing weight as you run. But that was one of the most exciting things because you got to see the missile fly.
When you got to your base for the Persian Gulf War, what was that feeling like, if you recall?
Well, we really didn't have a base. We were just out in the middle of the desert, and we lived under the camouflage netting of our equipment. And you took your clothes off, you washed them in a plastic bag inside a box. You took showers out in the middle of the desert with a 5-gallon jug of water. Took half of it to rinse, half of it to soap up, and half to get rid of it. But that's how you lived for a while. We never were actually on a base. Every once in a while, we got to go into the main, where all the headquarters and that were at. You'd maybe get a burger off a vending machine or one of them carts or whatever, but you didn't get too many hot meals. But one of the best days was we had a British unit up on a hill right beside us, and we asked them one day if they'd let us, if we did all the security for the hill, would they feed us? Because they fed 2 hot meals a day. We were all about it.
That's great. What was the first meal that you craved coming back when you got back, if you
Probably
were?
just breakfast.
Yeah.
Bacon and eggs, sausage, whatever, because didn't really get that a lot until we moved up the hill. Then we got it. But no, you didn't eat too well out there. You lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, yeah.
All you did was fill sandbags.
Landon, hearing some of these stories and some of the challenges, does that deter you or make you second guess, or?
Not at all. Not at all. The challenges is what makes you stronger. So, yeah.
I knew that was going to be his answer. I knew that before I asked.
Justin, how does it make you feel to line up next to a guy like Landen and guys like that?
It definitely shows me that, I don't want to say like I'm not as good, but at the same time, like I'm not as good as them because they're out here choosing to fight for our freedoms that we pretty much have like guaranteed to us. Like it's not something that we have to endure, like the boot camps and the stuff like that they have to go through.
Yeah, Justin, I want to make sure that you understand that it's not you saying I'm not as good, all right? Because I didn't serve, you didn't
I didn't serve.
you didn't serve.
Tory didn't serve.
That's not, it's understanding people that did and respecting them for what they did. And that's the problem, is when kids don't understand that. And so when you do, you just said it. I mean, Todd, you want to touch on that? I mean, what's it mean to have kids understand this?
Well, I think it even goes back further. Our schools have kind of changed that mentality. If you ask me, we don't teach it as much. We don't. We even stopped like the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning. We used to start the school day off with that. We don't do that. Prayer is not as involved.
We do. We still do.
Well, I know we do. I'm just saying, I think that's part of the respect we've given the kids a chance not to use, and we take that away. They need to understand that everything's not free. One of my shirts that I always wear, it's a veteran shirt, and it's freedom's not free. It's got free in it. It's part of the word, but it's not. It's earned. And just because you say you're not going in, most of the people up here haven't served. But there's a lot of things you can still do to your community, and just because you're not in the military doesn't mean you can't help support them, and that's what makes the uniform stronger and stronger.
Yeah. Justin, who are you playing for this year? Who will be on the back of your jersey?
Yeah, I'm playing for my uncle still. He's really the only guy in my family that has been in the military. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's outstanding.
Justin, I want to know what it was like playing with Landen, playing football with him at Grove.
He definitely was something. He was very good. He always had a lot of energy in the weight room, and he always wanted. It wasn't always about himself. It was about making other guys better, whether that was freshmen, sophomore, juniors. Like I said, I played with him 3 years, and I'd say he's one of the hardest working overall players I've ever played with.
Awesome.
What's your day look like, Landen, right now as you're getting prepared for what you're about to do?
So usually I get in 2 runs a day. So I wake up at 6.
Careful here, don't make us feel too lazy.
I'm sorry.
Too late. It's too late.
But I run around 7 or 7:30, and anywhere between 3 miles to 5 miles. And then if I don't have work that day, then I'll just sit around and watch TV or something. And then I usually work out again around 5, and then I'll usually get like a speed workout, which is anywhere from 3 to 4 miles. Or if I'm rucking, I'll do like a 10-mile rep or something, and then go in the weight room and get in the lift. So that's 6 days a week. So
Take a break on Sunday, do you?
yeah. And even then, I feel a little lazy.
Todd, how does it make you feel to be part of the Columbus Grove community and guys like this that
Well,
are?
I've seen a lot of these guys come and go. I mean, I've been out of school since '84,
Yeah.
so I've seen a lot of great athletes come through this town. I mean, when I played, I think the best we were 5-5, maybe 6-4 at our best. So we didn't have the greatest football teams, but it's been I think, especially with these young kids, you see a lot of them go on and do good things in the community. Not maybe ours, but maybe they go somewhere else. But it's always proud to see a Grove kid go somewhere and do good things. And especially in sports, it's one of the. I worked at Cooper Tire, which when I retired, it was Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, and obviously there was a lot of going back and forth who was the best. Well, I think over the last so many years, I've had a lot of enjoyable pops to drink and some bets that I've won on people. Just to give you an example, I was at the dentist one day and I had my Grove hat on, and the lady says, "What's going on with Grove?" I said, "Don't worry, we'll be all right. We're struggling right now." And she goes, "But you're still going to beat Bluffton." You said it, not me. And that's what's nice about Columbus Grove. We're a small community, and I'm telling you, the week went by so fast at work because we couldn't wait to go watch Friday Night Football. And it's these kids like this that help that.
In your mind, why has the football program been so successful for decades?
Well, I think a lot of it starts, the coaches help, and and once they start getting that unity together, and then you start getting the leadership of the team, the captains, and then the people below the captains. It's no different in the military. If my commander-in-chief isn't going to be very strong, I'm probably not going to be very strong. It all comes down from the top, and these young kids, they work hard, and it's shown, and the community appreciates it because it's a lot of pride in our town. We love the fire trucks and the toilet paper, don't we?
Well, I drove through. We came back from Kentucky in April, and there was toilet paper out by the railroad tracks. It had to be from when the girls won state, right? That was still out there.
Yeah.
So, that was 3-4 miles away from the town that toilet paper was still in the trees. My wife says, "What's that from?" I said, "Well, it's when girls won state basketball."
I've probably driven through there 3 or 4 times when Main Street, the stoplight just covered, and I always text Ned Steckschulte, "What the heck happened last night?"
Yeah. Todd, there's going to be a lot of football players listening to this. Why do you think our youth should serve in the military?
Well, I don't want to ever say somebody should serve. It's got to be driven from your heart and your mind. If you're not strong enough in the mind, it's not for you. You got to want to do it. Unless you're forced to do it because you're going to jail or something, that's your only other option. But I think it's a good thing. I think it's good for your country. We have freedoms like no other here in this country, and you can see it in the news every day of things that are going on overseas. And I'm proud to be an American, and I'd do anything to keep it the way it is.
Love it.
I teach a coaching class at Napoleon, and today I told them what we had going on here tonight, and I said, if you guys have any questions you would be interested in me asking, and I got some good ones. One of the ones that I thought was a good question, you kind of just alluded to it. Is it more of a mental or physical battle serving in the military?
Well, I think when you first start, it's mental. Because like for me in boot camp, I get off the bus at 2 o'clock in the morning, and the drill instructor comes on while you're dead asleep and starts yelling at you and get your stuff and get on the yellow footprints, and then the rest of the day you're up 24 hours getting all your gear and going through your stuff. But I think eventually it becomes physical. As you start getting used to it, your mind gets used to it. Everything we did was left over right. Your shoelaces are left over right. Your legs are left over right when you're sitting, getting you ready for the rifle range. It's just those things that they instill in your mind, and then eventually that becomes habit. And it's no different than running the same play over and over and over again. Eventually you do the same thing and it works. You see your mistakes and you move on. You want to make your mistakes before you go to war, that's for sure. But I think that's a lot of it, is you start out mental and then it turns into physical.
Landen, if you had to pick between the two as you're preparing for a military career, what do you see as maybe the bigger battle, mental or physical, in your mind right now?
I see mental as the biggest battle. Like you can be as physically fit as you possibly can be, but when the challenge comes, if you're not mentally tough, then you're going to break. So, I mean, yeah, you have to be both, but you definitely have to be more mentally strong, because there's going to be some crazy stuff that's going to come along in boot camp or selection, and you got to be mentally tough, or else you're not going to get through it. So,
I got one final question for Justin and Landen. You go into this military week. Do you take the field on Friday night with a different attitude when you play in those games this military week in your mind?
Yeah, it's definitely different, because it's not just playing for the guys and the coaches around us, it's playing for the whole entire military in general. I mean, it's playing for the guy on my back and on everybody's back. It's not just us in Columbus Grove, it's the military in general.
Landen, go ahead.
yeah, I think it's very special, because, you know, during every other game, you're playing for the team and yourself, and while you're still playing for that, you're playing for the name on your back. You're playing for the people that have served and are still serving, and people that have put their life on the line for our freedom. And during military night, we get to honor them. And and out of all the games, that's the one game you cannot lose. Like, you cannot lose on military night. You have to win on military night. But
Pressure's there. It is.
it's very special.
Do you remember who you played for on the back of your jersey in your career?
I know last year I played for John Waller. He's a family friend. And I think the years before that, I played for, they're both my great-grandpa on my mother's and father's side. I just kind of forget their names because I didn't get to meet them. But
Todd, how much do you appreciate not only the military appreciation game, but all the effort and passion Coach Schafer's put into it?
I think all military people that are involved with the game really appreciate it, because, like I said, it started, with previous wars where Vietnam wasn't treated very good, and, them people went through hell coming back to the United States, and that's a shame, because no matter what your beliefs are, they were there for you. Mm-hmm. And we should treat them as such. And I think over time, it's always gotten better and better and better, and now it's almost like you're treated like a king, There's a lot of good benefits from being in the military, and there's a lot of, obviously if you retire, there's even more, but the military game, I try to make sure I don't miss that, because it's pretty special to me. I mean, I've been on the field with my kids and seen other parents and friends and stuff and family members of theirs that go out there, and it's neat. Like I said, they're playing for the names on their back, they're playing for the Grove name on it, and the community, and themselves, the team. And it's a pretty special night. It's a good feeling. We've been trying to get a flyover, but that's kind of, I might just have to buy a plane.
That's in the Columbus Grove football budget, right?
Next year's golf.
And my license.
Next year's golf outing.
Coach Schafer, do you see your team play with a different attitude on this Friday night?
It's unreal, yeah. It's different. We are undefeated. I'm not ashamed to admit it. We're undefeated in military games, and I've seen special things happen. I'll never forget Gabe Clement. Gabe Clement's grandpa that he was playing for passed away on a Tuesday before the game. I didn't even know if he was going to play, and he goes, I got my grandpa's name on the back of my jersey. You can be sure that I'm going to play. And I didn't know how a kid was going to react, and he just reacted with a kick return for a touchdown, a punt return, a reception. We put in a fake pass where he could fake and then throw it, so he threw a touchdown. And I think it was one other way. He scored five different ways in one game.
Jeez.
And I mean, hear me out. That is not why we do the game. That's just a byproduct. But I'm telling you what it really means for these kids to play. They play a little different that week.
what does this week look like for you guys, and what do you have scheduled, if you can share that with
Yeah,
those listening?
so the National Guard comes out, they came out tonight, Monday night, and did a boot camp. Justin, you want to talk about that?
It was definitely a good experience. You definitely get to realize that instead of just running plays over again, I'd say you're running for a greater purpose. It's not just for you. It's for the military in general. Like, you want to give like 110% every single time because you know that it's not just for you. It's for the military too.
Yeah, that's why he took Tory Strock's pizza from him earlier tonight. He was hungry.
So as these kids are running, and afterwards, you know, the guy that Sergeant Gutschel that spoke to him kind of talked about, hey, remember when you guys wanted to quit on, you know, one of the runs there, and they all raised their hands, and then, but what happened? Somebody came alongside of you and said, I got your back, I got you, and let's go. And that's why the boot camp is important, is you realize that, and I've never been through boot camp, but you realize that you aren't, even though for a moment in your life.
You don't participate tonight?
No, I don't. Sparty did not. He didn't even videotape it. Can you believe that? But anyways, for a moment there, you know, they realize that they aren't just playing, you know, for themselves. And I've never been through boot camp, but I would imagine at one point you're probably thinking that you're the only one, and it's bigger. There's other guys right next to you that's going through the same stuff. So they get through. It's only an hour workout, but it's brutal. There's usually we get to see what they had for lunch, and yeah, it's good. And so many teams don't do that during their military appreciation week. I don't know why. They do it during the summer, but I asked Sergeant Gutschel, I said, how many teams do that the week of and he's like, you're the only one. Everybody's too afraid of injuries or being tired or wearing them out. So that's how we start. And then Tuesday, we do a Murph, which is a CrossFit workout in honor of somebody that passed away, service to our country. And it's a 1 mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 air squats, and then run another mile. And you know, Landen can probably talk about that and what that was like. But we really stress to the kids, you can't take a rep off. Like kids don't like pull-ups, let alone push-ups, let alone air squats. So it doesn't really matter. But you know, you get to 150 whatever, and you're thinking, oh, I got 50 more or whatever it is, and oh, wait a second, but there's somebody that I'm doing this for that died for our country. So you want to talk on that a little bit?
Yeah, during the Murph, I mean, it's fun.
That's the wrong guy.
But nobody skips reps. Everybody takes it serious. If you're a big offensive lineman and you can't do 100 pull-ups, you better find a different way. You better start doing lat pull-downs or something. But everybody takes it serious, and they know the importance of it. So everybody goes pretty hard during it.
Even the injured guys, they figure out something. They got to do something in place of it. And we just say, we're going to start your practice when we're done. And so if it's at 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whatever, we'll just adjust. And then we practiced after that. So it's Wednesday. What do you guys feel like Wednesday?
A little sore.
Wednesday's a little sore, so we got to lighten the practice. So we adjust our practice because of military week, because we feel like that is more important than X's and O's. The X's and O's will take care of itself. So that's our Wednesday. Thursday, we have a typical practice, and then we eat at the VFW there in town. And the color guard usually joins us to eat with us, which is cool. So we get to thank those guys. And we always have a guest speaker. Todd came and talked, and this year we have Justin LeHew that we're going to talk in just a little bit. He's going to talk to our team. It's going to be very impactful. That's always a special night. Each kid, like I said, gets up and says who they're playing for that night, so we all know. And then, Friday's the game. We got camo jerseys that our local VFW bought for us this year. We have brand new ones. Our choir is actually singing God Bless America before the game, which is pretty cool. Our band obviously is playing. Our art department comes out and does a bunch of murals all over the grounds, as well as writes the names of the people that we're playing for. So, I mean, it's a whole school thing. 8th and 9th period Friday, Justin's coming in to speak to some classes on patriotism in today's world, and that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's more than a game in Grove. So
Outstanding. Landon, he can't punish you. How many push-ups you think Coach Schafer could get in before he would tap out?
come on, man.
I'd say 22.
22?
Hey, that's it.
You guys challenged me to a cartwheel one time. Remember that?
I remember what happened with
So
that.
If I got to do 22 push-ups, I'll do them.
He's hit the food a little heavy, so
By the end of the week, Coach Schafer, by the end of the week.
22 push-ups.
22.
I think I can handle that.
All right. I'm good with this group. Do you have any more questions from your class, Coach Strock?
No, I do. I have a bunch. I'm going to save some. But, they gave me some good ones. I've got some good ones. Give me a one-word description of your military service, Todd.
Honorable.
Honorable. Love it.
Keep some there. Need a few more here for the next
I
couple of
will.
guys.
I'll save them.
Coach Schafer, anything else we left out from this group that we need to?
No, I wanted to, I asked them, but I also wanted to ask them on air so it could be recorded, but I wanted to know their opinion of the military game. I wanted to hear what as a community member or past person that served, I wanted to know, are we doing it right? Do we need to do better? And same thing with a former player, what did he get out of it? Was it what I thought he was? And then Justin right now. So yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Todd, thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it very much. Landon, good luck on your journey.
thank you.
And Justin, good luck the rest of the season, my man. Get it done. All right? All right. Thank you, guys. Be back with a couple more folks from Columbus Grove after we take a quick break here. KK Collision is a leader in the auto repair industry that has been servicing Northwest Ohio's auto needs for over 27 years. We offer a fast and reliable repair option that stands above the competition. When your vehicle enters our facility, you can be assured that you have chosen the most technologically advanced repair facility in the area. KK Collision is an automotive body and mechanical shop, as well as both a light and heavy-duty towing service located in Liberty Center. Our towing services cover Northwest Ohio and the surrounding area 24 hours a day. Are you in need of a repair estimate? Visit us anytime during business hours for a free estimate at T556 Ohio 109 on the north side of Liberty Center, or call 888-533-7801 or visit our website at kkcollision.com.
Gentlemen, thank you for being here this evening. And if you would, please introduce yourselves for our listeners.
Well, over to Race Risser first.
I don't think I deserve that, but my name is Lieutenant Race Risser, Columbus Grove native, grew up right next door to the football stadium, played there from about 2007 to 2010, and then I went to Ohio Wesleyan, where I was fortunate enough to continue playing some football till about 2014. I had about a 2-day defensive back career with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers of the Canadian Football League before they took their talents somewhere else, and I think they did just fine without me. Out of a job, I ended up going to University of Toledo to get my master's and then on to medical school. And throughout that time, always had a deep connection with military service with my grandfathers and uncle and a lot of my classmates. And so I always wanted to be a Marine, but I always wanted to be a physician. So the next best thing was to join the Navy. And so I joined the Navy when I got into medical school, and then did some training at Walter Reed in Bethesda. And then maybe I'm not very smart, but then I decided to go drown and go to dive school, and an opportunity presented itself. And here I am, and I've just stumbled forward. I don't know how much success that is, or just probably a bunch of stubborn, dumb luck. And currently I'm working down in Camp Lejeune with the 2nd Reconnaissance Battalion as their diving medical officer and kind of their family practitioner, if you will.
Wow.
Outstanding.
Thank you, Race.
Yeah, thank you very much, Race. Yep.
Race, at Ohio Wesleyan, you didn't happen to cross paths with Tyler Swery, did you?
I did. He was only 1 year older than I was. We actually lived in the same house for a couple of years. So I know Tyler and his younger brother, Seth, who's actually my roommate, very well. So we had a great experience there and winning a conference championship at that program and had a lot of fun together.
That's awesome. He was my defensive coordinator for 7 years. And so,
he's awesome.
that's great. Thank you very much, Race.
Yeah. Thank you, Race.
Well, hey, I guess it's me because I'm the only other one that's on here. So, hey, it's pretty cool. Unlike Race, who would probably be considered the NFL level coming out of Columbus Grove High School compared to the other guy that is on this podcast at this time. You know, I would probably say that my junior varsity years and maybe even back when I was in the 6th grade and 7th grade was the pinnacle of my professional football in Columbus Grove. You know, I was rolling at a whopping 5'8" and about 94 pounds and coming from the world's finest places producing, you know, really good, high quality caliber teams under Coach Schafer. I'm telling you, man, that's not how we were rolling back in those days. We were kind of rolling like, hey, bro, what are you doing today? We need you to put these pads on and get out on the football field, or else we're going to forfeit the game today. And it was like, Roger that. You know, suit me up, coach, put me in. And like in the 7th grade, I found myself as a quarterback of a team. Like I couldn't even see over the line when I was in Columbus Grove. And I can remember playing in Paulding when I was in the 7th grade. And you know, that's emblazoned in my head. Like, we lost like 38-6. We actually put points on the board. But the best recollection that I have is walking off of the field in a stupor and having like a girl named Janelle Kissel, who was like the head football cheerleader of like 7th and 8th graders, like walk over and guide me off of the field when I was walking into the woods. And she's like, you don't look all that good. And now we know there was no concussion protocols going on in Columbus Grove in those days, man, because that girl saw something. She reeled me back in, and I probably would have never went on to have a 31-year career in the U.S. Marine Corps, graduating from Columbus Grove High School, if she had not identified a wandering infant on the football field that day to walk off into the thing and reel me back in. And the same thing, gents, kind of played over in high school because, as Coach Schafer will let you know, even though Columbus Grove has become, and it's pretty cool because I'm down in Virginia, so I get to look back and watch what my high school has become and still follow it after all these years. And to watch them become, you know, in the top conversations of powerhouses, not only in Northwest Ohio, but they're in the conversations of the state that is out there. And so coming from a high school that at best was maybe graduate 70 people a year for over 100 some years, it's pretty consistent over the years. And that's not going to jump up by a couple dozen or go by down a couple dozen. It kind of stays consistent. It's no short order to say that every able-bodied male for decades was pressed into the service in the Columbus Grove sports system to put fields on the, you know, put teams on the field, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, or anything. And it really is neat in a very Hoosiers way to be able to have such a small school. I am so proud to come from the community I am from, to have put people on those sports battlefields that have won Northwest conferences or the PCLs, or to go to state, or to be in some of these great conversations. And you're not talking about D1 type schools. You're talking about kids that still have to have jobs in the farm fields of high school, and still have to negotiate with coaches on a daily basis. Like, hey, coach, can you have practice on this day? Because, you know, my dad said, I got to be on the combine today to do whatever. And that truly is the cloth I was cut from. And I'm telling you, gents, it probably made me a lot of who I am today, in the successes I have in my life, at this point in the game. So thanks for having me on.
But he didn't say his name yet.
You know, it's never about me, brother. I'm as team player as it gets. Justin LeHew, Columbus Grove High School, race that's on there right now. It's kind of neat. We grew up actually on the same street, just years apart from each other with our families, right across the
field's
street
in the
from
middle.
Columbus Grove High School.
Yeah, the football field's in the middle of you two, really.
It really was. It's the middle of it's in the middle of us too, and you used to have to go down. I don't know what the entrance used to be like, and I'm glad they put some money in there, Coach Schafer. But you know, you used to, after you're done, shove on 3 sidewalks and driveways worth of snow on the way to the football field to help out the old ladies in town. To do that, you know, whenever you came out of the locker room and walked across the street. I can still, to this day, at the age of 55, hear the crunch of the gravel underneath my feet when we used to walk in that little fenced-in area that had some class donate the banner over top of it that paid to go out to the football field that does not look like it did today.
Yeah.
But when you crunched into that gravel and you walked out there, man, you were somebody in that town.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell from the introductions that this segment could go for a while. Because you two guys, I can tell, are great, and I've watched some of Justin. I've watched some of your podcasts, and I'm just mesmerized by it. Just your stories have been incredible. I was watching one of them on Sunday morning, and I started getting a tear in my eye. They were explaining about your career, and my wife said, "Are you crying?" And I said, "Yeah, I got emotional just hearing about you." So thank you guys for joining us. First of all, thank you for your service. We're always going to be indebted to guys like you, and we can't thank you enough for joining us tonight. Thank you.
Well, I greatly appreciate it, and I'm glad you listened to it Sunday morning, because after you got really emotional, man, you still got time to go to church and get that
out. Yes, and I know Coach Strock has a bunch of questions here from his coaching class that he has at Napoleon High School, and I have several as well. And Coach Schafer, thank you also for bringing this group together tonight, because we started talking about this maybe back in May, June, July, somewhere in there, setting this up.
It was a long time ago, and you guys, I think I've told both of you how humbling it was when I became the head coach at Columbus Grove to recognize not only the success in sport, but also success in military. And I was humbled to realize how important military is in Columbus Grove, and the amount of people that have served is amazing. And so they were asking if we could do a special on the military of Columbus Grove. And I'm like, yeah, I've got to have you two on, and you guys would definitely offer insight. And I know, I don't think both of you have really been to too many Columbus Grove football games recently, but I know you still kind of follow us and know what's been going on. So yeah, I thought you'd be great to have on.
Yeah, I can tell they're going to be great. Justin, you spoke to the Navy football team on Saturday, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, and the Navy baseball team on Sunday. It's been an honor of my lifetime to be able to be Division I and everybody else, college coaches from around the nation, to say, hey, can you come in for 10 minutes to speak? We're about to run on the field against these guys or whatever. Can you come and build the locker room up, or can you do whatever you have to do that? And yesterday was really neat, because unfortunately in the government shutdown thing that they're doing, normally, as you very well know, that collegiate football teams really still are the financial base of a lot of their universities on their athletic. And so it doesn't matter if it's a women's volleyball teams and everybody else, lacrosse teams, you name it. In NCAA sports today, the football team draws in all the money and the crowd. And a lot of other people get to benefit from that, of having great recruiting to come to play lacrosse or to do that because of what the football teams bring in. And that's just the way it is across the United States in a lot of places. Football has replaced baseball in a lot of places as America's pastime. And these colleges generate all of this money coming in, and a lot of the other auxiliary sports programs who are still world class, they live off of those funds. Well, the Air Force Falcons that were coming to Annapolis to play normally have 5 or 6 other teams that ride the Falcons' coattails to come into play. And the Navy and the Air Force will then have the football game on Saturday, and then baseball, track, other things will meet up the following day to play because of the hosted universities. Saturday, that didn't happen. So Saturday, because of the government shutdown and the way funding happens, a lot of the phone calls went out and said, yeah, we're going to fly the football teams, but we're not flying anybody else to come out. And on Sunday or late Saturday evening, the Navy football or the Navy baseball coach gave me a call and said, I know you were going to be here tomorrow again to speak to both the Air Force Academy and Navy baseball on the field at the same time, which I can tell by looking at all 3 of you, nobody ever gets invited to speak to both locker rooms collectively before a game to hype up people to play each other after that. So I'm sitting here like, absolutely, the answer is yes. My God, that's insane. How would you say no to that? Yes, I will. Because you could ask anybody in the nation to do that, but you're asking me to do that. So that was supposed to be a collective, motivate both teams, go out on the baseball field and whack it out, do whatever you got to do for America. And then they called and said, hey, brother, the Falcons aren't allowed to come because of whatever. We're going to do an inter-squad scrimmage because we have all the families of our people here who came in for the football game the day before. And I know you're a great speaker or whatever, and if you want to wave off, that's fine, but would you come up? And I said, I could think of no better place to be. And on Sunday, went into the Navy baseball locker room, hyped up those kids, split them into 2 squads, went out, and they put on the best show for their own families that day. And they played like Major League Baseball players. And there were Major League scouts and everything in the stands watching an inter-squad scrimmage that day. And those guys put on the best exhibition I've seen in a decade up there.
Wow. Justin, you were, I was reading, and you were, you kind of noted as the hero of Nasiriyah. Tell us about that. And you won the Navy Cross in 2004, which is the 2nd highest award for combat bravery. Tell us about that, if you would. Share that story, please. I've
had the blessing of not only to be raised by some really good people in Columbus Grove, but they took what that was, handed a very rough, rudimentary person over to the U.S. Marine Corps. And then the U.S. Marine Corps took that and chiseled that down into a guy that went for 31 years and fought in 3 wars, went to over 100 countries, and found himself at the tip of the spear on March 23rd in 2003 during the invasion of Iraq. And I was blessed with being surrounded by the greatest team that probably America could put on the field of battle. And when you're talking about a team of teams, when you look around to the left and the right, and you were just in awe of the people you were surrounded with, that's what I got to go into Iraq with on the 23rd of March of 2003. And that was the spearhead of the invasion of the force that would eventually push on to take over Baghdad and unseat Saddam Hussein. So going in on that day, we found ourselves against a very entrenched enemy that wasn't supposed to be there. Intelligence said, just like 1991, for the most part, when they see American power, they'll just throw their hands up. They'll surrender like they did in 1991. And this, well, I was in 1991 and I was a young kid, 3 years coming out of high school in Columbus Grove, Ohio. And I was in the first Iraq War. And I saw the looks on their faces in 1991 and said, this ain't over. And the difference was this. In 1991 in Desert Storm and Desert Shield, we were tasked with pushing an invading country who had invaded Kuwait and get them out of that country and put them back into their own country, if that makes sense. That was it. They invaded another country. We were sent in, kick them back out, and say, get back to where you belong. War's over. And that's what the United States did in 1991. They didn't go to Baghdad. They didn't finish the war. All of us who were there knew that was not finished. Because here's what made 2003 different. A lot of people actually believed that's the way it was going to be, but I experienced that, so I trained my Marines to not believe like that. Because it's one thing to push somebody out of a country that's not theirs and tell them to get back into their own country. It's another thing to invade somebody's country and they got nowhere else to go. They're going to fight a little harder for that. If somebody would come into Ohio and say, we need you guys to move into Michigan, that ain't happening in Ohio, man. And Ohioans are going to fight. And that's what it was in 2003. So when we rolled into the southernmost city of Nasiriyah, that was a city of 500,000 people, that was a beehive of the Saddam Fedayeen, which was basically the special forces of the Iraq military and all that, we hit a buzzsaw. And it was only promulgated that morning by the Army made a wrong turn that morning when they were supposed to bypass the entire city to go to Baghdad. And a small column wound up in the middle of all of that, got shot up pretty good. And then were trying to get out of there. And a lot of their soldiers were captured or killed. And my unit was sent in to make sure that we did not leave our dead and wounded on the battlefield. And even though those were Army soldiers, that's what I try to reinforce in everybody today. And Coach Schafer and I've talked about this a lot is I might be a U.S. Marine that day and they might be U.S. soldiers, but we're all on the same team that day. And they're missing and they're having a bad day. I'm going in to do whatever we can do to try to get them out. And nobody knew that was going to be that day that morning, gents. We were supposed to be fighting an enemy, not rescuing captured Army soldiers. And one of those was very historical because she was the first female captured like that named Jessica Lynch. So that just ratcheted up everything tenfold. We got the orders. We went into the city. We secured the bridges so everybody could get to Baghdad. That's what that mission was. And we were in a day-on, stay-on fight for 12 hours like a buzzsaw where, my daughter had no idea where we were at. My wife had no idea where we were at. And on the TV in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, my daughter was sitting in front of the TV that day, and she yelled at my wife and said, "Mom, come quick. I think I know where Dad's at." And the ticker across the news thing was United States Marines are taking heavy casualties in Nasiriyah, Iraq. And that's what my daughter saw. And my daughter was only 11 years old when she saw that. And the only reason she knew to go get my wife on that day, and we had not talked to them for months, during family days before the deployment, I would take my daughter and my wife down where all the other families were going around our vehicles. And unbeknownst to us, we had already marked our invasion markings on our vehicles before we went over. And my 11-year-old daughter remembered what those markings looked like. And she saw those markings on fire on CNN that morning in 2003. And she said, "Mom, I know where Dad's at. Come quick." when you think about an America like that, a lot of people have seen the movie We Were Soldiers Once and Young. Where in Vietnam, people didn't know, and they had to get delivered telegrams walking around the base of your husband's not coming home or your son's not. In 2003, we had not moved far beyond that. People were tuning in to still find out if their husbands were never coming home that night. The internet was not really the internet. And people were locking their doors or not answering the phone because they would see somebody 3 houses down who was just told their husband was killed. And then another 2 houses down in the same neighborhood, your dad's not coming home. So they would lock, they would not even answer their doors. And that was 23rd of March of 2003. And I like to tell people, nobody cares when they're in a situation like that, 6,500 miles away from home. Nobody cares who's a Democrat or who's a Republican or who the president is or anything else, man. You just want to accomplish your mission and bring as many as your team home as you possibly can that day. And you can go back 200 years in the American military, and I'll just cut it short by saying the men and women who fought on the 23rd of March 2003 in Nasiriyah, Iraq, made America just as proud as any other generation that ever came before them. And that's what gives me the confidence when I looked at that Navy baseball team yesterday and I looked at those young kids. I told them exactly this. I said, don't believe any bullshit that you're hearing that your generation is weaker than any other generation that came before you. And you are going to be the ones that surrender the flag after 250 years. It's all horseshit. I said, once your generation is pressed on that field and you walk off those white lines, or if you're on that gridiron and you're between one end zone and another, I have found out that once those kids walk outside those white lines and they move on with their lives, they are just as good as any generation that ever came before them in this freaking nation. Because being an American, the demand signal is you have to be. Because since 1775, every 20 to 25 years, we go to war. Since 1775. That is everybody. We go to war. And then after that 25 or 30-year period that we consider peace, we go to 4 or 5 other places around the world and get ourselves engaged in some other kind of thing on a smaller scale. And then the next 25-year period comes and we're all going to war, whether you're drafted, whether you're male or female or anything. That's just the way it is as an American. And I'm one that will pray for peace like everybody else, but I am just like the coaches and everybody that's on here is we prepare for war. Because as an American, we were born in war in 1775. And to exist as an American and as America, we will have to fight every 20 to 25 years like that to secure the next 250 years of existence, because that's just who we are as Americans. And that's not emotion, gents, talking like that. It's not emotion. In today's day and age, you can fact check everything I say today, which makes being a leader or a coach harder today than it used to be. Because those kids will just get on the internet and go, you're full of shit. That's whatever, right? So you got to know your shit as a coach and a leader today. You do. And those guys over there, I'm telling you, man, those guys right there, America every 20 to 25 years since 1775 has had to do everything I am saying right now. So all emotion aside, what tells people that that's going to be any different for the next 100 years as Americans to not have us prepare for that? because there's already a blueprint laid out in front of us as an American that said we've had to do that for the past 250 years. So that is why that's why I always tell when Coach Schafer calls me and says, can you, before he even gets his word out, I'm like, yes, I'll do whatever you got, man. Because I know what he's trying to do on that football field with those kids. Because one day those kids aren't going to be kids anymore, and they're going to have to walk outside those white lines and get on with the rest of their life. And today they get the honor of being the youth of America that gets to solve their problems between one goal line and another for 60 minutes of a game. And at the end of the game, we tell them to shake hands, embrace your friend that was a combatant that day, and do what you got to do, man. But what we are doing on the gridirons of America around the world is inculcating in those young women everything that I am talking about today. That fight, that drive, that go the extra yard. Don't quit. When your legs give out, your brother's going to push you. You know, the Philly freaking push, man. You know, the tush push. I'm going to help you out, brother. We're going to do whatever. Or if you're just driving for an extra yard, that's what America is, and that's how we exist. And why wouldn't we want to support that in the classrooms and everything else as we are growing them as the youth of America? Because we are going to demand more of them when they graduate than this country has ever had to put on the shoulders of anyone that has come before them. So guys, thank you for your podcast. I hated to go along with that. I'm pretty passionate about what I do. And I'm telling you, man, thanks for what you guys are doing. And now I'll turn this back over to you.
No thanks needed for us, my man. That was
I'm
powerful
ready to run
stuff.
through a brick wall.
Oh, good grief.
So I've got a whole sheet of questions, and I had some of my students today at school help me with these questions, and I feel so inadequate right now because nothing can even scratch the surface of what Justin just talked about. One of the things my students wanted me to ask you guys is, see, we look to you guys for motivation. Like, you are inspiring to us. So if you need to get motivated, although I think you guys wake up motivated, but if you need to get motivated, who do you listen to? Who do you talk to? What do you read? What podcast do you listen to? What inspires and motivates you guys?
Race, over to you, man.
Mine's pretty easy. You guys just listen to it. So I've been very fortunate to have a lot of service members in my life. I had classmates, one in particular, Corey Brinkman, was a good football player. And, you know, he, right out of high school, ended up going into the Army. And then he earned a Bronze Star with valor in Afghanistan. And then I looked to myself, and in about 2012, I'm at Ohio Wesleyan. And, you know, the highlight of my life is playing football and probably what I'm doing on Saturday. So my peers and my family members really were the ones, and just Columbus Grove as a whole with its rich history of service, you know, I kind of had imposter syndrome where, you know, everybody is going to stop playing football or volleyball or track or cross country or band at some point in their lives. And so I think a lot of young people are probably not adequately, you know, informed that that day comes a lot faster than you think. And then people like me and Sergeant Major LeHew are saying, it happens, but when you're 18 years old, you're like, nah, not yet. I'm gonna have a good time. But that happens, and you have a real hard time maybe looking in the mirror. Like, I identified with being a football player, and I loved being a part of the team. I loved being in the locker room. I loved being around the men and everybody getting after it. And, you know, you learn more from those tough losses than you do easy wins. And you gotta hate losing more than you like winning with your friends. And so when that day came for me, I kind of was at a crossroads, and I was yearning to be part of a team again. And so the really only thing left for me was, all right, what other team can I be a part of? And that's what the Navy did for me. And similar to what young people do in football, after school athletics, or any of these other extracurriculars, that delayed gratification, which I just am biased, but I think football does the best. 4 years of high school football is easy when you're really good. 4 years of football when you're maybe not scratching the top 2-3 of the depth chart, that's a long 4 years of going out there and working really hard. But what I have found is that those young men and women that work really, really hard, that, grind their freshman, sophomore, junior years, and then they stick with it and they get some of that playing time. They get that exposure and acknowledgement a little bit after sticking with something for many, many years. Those are the people I find who are great Marines, great sailors, great members of the community, great employers, and great employees, great fathers, sons, husbands, things like that. It's easy to go to work when you love what you're doing and it's, sunshine and rainbows. But, when you're challenged and you got to get up and pay the bills, it's not easy to be motivated at 4 a.m. And so when you say what motivates me, when people say fake it till you make it, being motivated to me is when you're really unmotivated, but you still get up and go to work. That's motivating. Kind of similar to where, people talk about being brave. You're the most brave when you are scared to death. And so for me personally, going to dive school, sounded great. And I don't think the Columbus Grove swimming pool as a lifeguard probably prepped me for that adventure. But, when you're looking to your left and your right, and I've been used to being a high performer in athletics, and I'm looking at 18 to 22-year-old young diving candidates next to me at 30, and I'm looking like, oh, who's the weakest one here? And you start looking around a lot harder. It's you. And so at the end of the day, you got to boil it down to, you got to make things simple. Am I going to quit, or am I going to make them quit me? And so for me personally, I've just bumbled forward at every step of my life and career, and nothing has been that, seamless. But not quitting, simplifying it, and just be like, what, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to make somebody tell me I can't do this, really makes life simple. And so I probably didn't answer any of your questions, but that's a long-winded way of saying, your community, your family, your friends, for me personally, it was a big sense of responsibility, of service, of, if I'm not going to do this task and try and take care of Marines and sailors from a healthcare standpoint, and go and really make sure our guys downrange are taken care of and their families are taken care of by extension, who else is going to do it? And I felt kind of selfish saying, well, that's somebody else's job to go do. So that's kind of where I landed. And growing up and hearing stories about, Justin and my grandfather and my friends who enlisted, everybody has a point to serve, and it doesn't have to be the military. That can be, giving back to your community, being a coach, and I think that is really the forefront of what I think young people need. They need to do hard things, and they need to be acknowledged for doing hard things, because as we all know, when those responsibilities start adding up and you add up life and a family, it's really easy to do the right thing when everybody's looking. But when you're put up against the ropes and nobody's looking, that's really when you're tested. And so I think that young people getting all those reps in these kind of simulations of life through athletics, I could not be a bigger supporter of. And so, yeah, my motivations are all that, and Justin and his story. And, it's pretty hard to say, wow, I've had a big day at work, I deserve a break, when I have people like him to look up to in his service. He grew up right down the street from me. So I think the big thing is, if it's not me, somebody's got to do it. And I think that's my way of getting after it.
It's a great answer. Great answer, Race. Loved it. Loved it.
Yeah. What is dive school? Explain that for the common person that is listening right now. What goes into it?
It's not fun, but it is. So for the Navy and the Marine Corps and even the Army, down in Panama City, they have the Navy Diving and Salvage Training Center. That's kind of where the real choke point of all branches come: the Coast Guard, the Army, the Marine Corps. and the Navy go to where you really cut your teeth for those types of professions. So for myself, there was an opportunity for physicians to, instead of staying in the hospital, to go out there and get your feet wet. And, you know, if you want to be part of military medicine, this is probably the most operational you can get. And I thought, man, that's for me. Let's get after it. And I mean, I don't know, I didn't even have a pair of fins or a scuba mask at that, or you know, a mask and you know, goggles or any of that. And so I trained for a while, and, you know, word of mouth. And so it was about a 6-month prep time up in Groton. Did a lot of learning about what diving medicine really is like, and what our service members really risk when they go into these austere environments, whether they're deep sea divers, whether they're combatant divers like our Naval Special Warfare or the Marine Corps reconnaissance and special operations communities. There's a lot of everything inherently is high risk. And so you get an education on that, and then you punch your ticket if you haven't quit at that point, to go down to Panama City and see if you can, you know, stick with the big boys. And I will say, and I can be a firsthand acknowledgement, that they do not pull any punches. If you are an officer or a physician, they pride themselves in treating everybody the same. So you have an extended curriculum down there, many days in the water, a lot of time underwater. And, you know, you just got to trust the process. And if you run out of air, they'll pull you out, and they're really good at their jobs. And so I don't want to give all their secrets away, but, you know, I really encourage people that if I can do it, anybody can do it. And that's a real grit your teeth and get through it situation. And that's probably the thing I'm most proud of my life, that I didn't quit that. And every day, I'm not going to sit here and lie. I was thinking about, you know, maybe say this isn't for me. But I had, you know, a lot of support from my wife and my family to get through it. And yeah, and it really worked out. And then I got to join a community in the Marine Corps reconnaissance community, which I couldn't be more proud to be a part of, and hopefully support them as they're downrange, and when I'm with them, to hopefully put them in the best position possible to succeed. So ironically, Justin was actually Sergeant Major over at 1st Reconnaissance Battalion, so he is ultimately very aware of what those recondos and the SARC corpsmen go through. And he knows a little bit about the water as well, so I'll turn it over to him.
Hey, Race is being pretty humble. I'm going to tell you, for such a young rank, being a lieutenant, Race is in charge of a unit in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, of probably about 600 to 700 of our special operations forces that are down there at a battalion size. I was a sergeant major of 1st Reconnaissance Battalion out on the West Coast many years ago. Race is the medical officer and dive medical officer of the 2nd Reconnaissance Battalion that's on the East Coast. And that's how they split those up. It's not one's any better than the other. Anybody that has the odd numbers are on the West Coast, the even numbers are on the East Coast. That's just how they fall out like that. But I'm going to tell you, all of those capabilities that Ray said, the learning point in exactly what he just said is simply this. Race is older than 30 years old. And the majority of the people that go through that are 18 and 19 years old. And they don't cut you any huss. We lead by example. So that means before you can tell somebody how to do something, you have to do it yourself. And we immerse you in that in the military, regardless of officer or enlisted, more in the reconnaissance community. We take somebody like Race and say, you know you're an officer and everything else. Thanks very much. Get in the pool. We don't care. Just get over there and get in the pool. And oh, by the way, you're going to be treading water within an inch of your life with 40 of your new best friends. And all of them are from the unit who are looking up to you as an officer. So if you quit, you're kind of like not a career in the Navy for you, brother. Because the person you're leading is treading water right next to you. And you have to do the same thing he has to do, and we're not going to cut you any break whatsoever. And it doesn't matter how old you are or anything else. We don't care. So they send Race to do that because here's where Race is humble. When he gets qualified and they bring him back to the unit, anybody else that needs to qualify to do that, Race is the one that says he's qualified or not to do it. He is the number one person in that unit after he comes back as the diving medical officer. When any of those special forces teams field a dive unit, the commanding officer is going to go to somebody like Race and go, are my Marines qualified to go in the water? And he is going to look him in the eye as the commanding officer and say, sir, these 5 are, this one is not. Because this one can't do whatever it is today, whether it's, balance their eardrums out, or he can't do whatever. He's got to be the one that looks at the commanding officer, because the commanding officer goes to him first and says, I got to put a dive team 1,000 miles away from home and put them on a ship tonight. Race, tell me the 6 guys that are going to be on that team. And the commanding officer is the captain is going to say, these are my 6 guys. The captain is going to go to Race and go, are my 6 guys qualified? And Race is going to go, either all 6 are qualified, or he's going to say, you only got 5 or 1. And then that person's going to have to go back to that commander and say, I can complete or not complete that mission with what you just told me to do. So that's why I say that Race is a bit humble in what he is saying after what he has endured, because quite frankly, we purposely put people like Race through that in the crucible so that they totally understand and don't fudge the numbers, because they actually know that what we're asking those men to do that day involves the greatest of national security elements on that day. And that diving medical officer has to look somebody in the face and say, I know what you're asking me to do, but I'm going to tell you, this one can't go, but take those other 5, and here's the other ones who are qualified. And then people like Race don't try to hide that, because the one that gets disqualified, I'm telling you, gents, that's just like the linebacker or anybody else as a coach. You pull off the football field for a goal line stance that says, get your ass off the field. We're putting this guy in. And he's like, but coach, I'm the best. I need to be the guy. But the coach knows that day that that guy on that goal line has been sick for the past week and a half and just can't do it today. Race is the guy that has to look at that guy willingly and go, hey, brother, you can get mad at me or anything else, but I'm the guy that said you're not going on that mission. And here's why. Because I'm going to take care of you. We're going to get you patched up. We're going to get you 100% healthy to when we put you back in the line, man, you are the most lethal person we can ever send on the battlefield. And that is a lot of responsibility for a kid that grew up on Pendleton Street in Columbus Grove, Ohio. Trust me.
Well, I mean, I think Justin's being awfully nice to me. I think, it just goes back, playing football and you're running sprints and your coach tells you, are you going to finish through the line? And it's easy when the coach is looking, but when the coach isn't looking, like, are you going to? So that foundation, I feel like for young athletes and young people is so important for that exact reason. And so I'll say it and I repeat myself 100 times. I'm sure my wife will tell you that, but, Justin said, if I have to fudge the numbers or I want to talk to my battalion commander and look at somebody in the face and it's probably okay, and nobody's looking, oh man, I mean, that has the downstream consequences of that are are not worth it. I have a responsibility to the Marines and the sailors and to their families that they're put in a good position forward. And delivering bad news is, talk about, I'm sure Coach Schafer is well accustomed to this, being able to have that conversation with a player, a service member, and when they are, and there's similarities so much between the communities I'm in, Justin's in, and Coach Schafer is in, where a lot of these athletes and service members have the same mentality. They want to play. They've been training. They don't want to just practice. They want to get after it and play on game day. And so when you have to deliver bad news and be honest with them, and then build that trust that, I can deliver this bad news, but we're all on the same team. I think that's a real skill that coaches develop, and something that I, am trying to continually improve on. But, the allegories and comparisons between athletics and military is endless. And so, in summary, that's just, it's such a common thing. Every day I feel like I'm part of an athletic team and managing players.
I'm just sitting here just thinking, what are the odds that these two guys grew up 100 yards from each other?
It's pretty crazy, yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I'm speechless, man.
No, I am too, because a lot of times, when we interview people, you're thinking about the next question you're going to ask. I haven't been able to do that tonight.
Well,
sorry about that.
But I have about 3,000 more that I want to ask.
Yeah, I'm just so enthralled by
Yes.
what you guys are sharing that I'm not even trying to think ahead, because I don't want to miss
No, I know you're right. Yeah.
what you guys are saying here. But Lynn, go ahead.
What would you guys say you're most proud of?
Oh, wow. I would probably say two or threefold. One, I really am proud of the fact that I came from the small community that I did grow up in. In America, in that northwest corner of Ohio, seems to really produce a consistent person for that 250 years that we're talking about. Those farm fields in Ohio and everything else, you go in every cemetery, you go in every history book, you go in anything else, and you are going to find that fluoride has been put in the water for centuries coming from that area. And just like it was in the Marine Corps, when you're part of that brotherhood, is the greatest thing that allows you to overcome fear in any situation, at least in a combat situation, is simply this. It's not the fear of getting killed. It's not that I'm scared of the enemy or anything else. It is 100% the fear that I am going to let somebody down who did this job before me so well for the past couple of centuries, that gave me the opportunity today to continue to have what I and my family have. And when you have a fighting force or a team or anybody else that is ingrained like that isn't about them. It is about how their small stitch in the fabric of that flag hanging up behind you is, I just need to worry about my small stitch. And I want to motivate other people to worry about their small stitch. And when everybody believes in their small stitch, the whole flag doesn't fall apart, right? Because none of us as an individual person can take on the responsibility of what it has taken for 250 years to keep our republic together. We just aren't big enough as human beings to shoulder that. We need each other. So to come from that thing, go through those crucibles we're talking about, and now I'm a retired person, so it's pretty cool. It's like hearing Charles Barkley or Larry Bird, or they can say whatever the hell they want, right? Any football analyst that's in the, quote, Hall of Fame can just say whatever they want, because their career is encapsulated in this thing that said, during your time as, quote, the man in the arena, This was your life. This is what you did. This is what you ponied up for. And it's not just words, it's deeds. And now your career's over with. And now you're on the other side helping to motivate people to believe in that, not just say that, by applying that by your own methodologies to say, if you can look at this, I'm not guaranteeing you the same outcome, but I need you to still have the same drive, discipline, desire, and motivation as anybody that came before you. And that's all I'm asking you to do. And if you do that, then your stitch in the fabric of that flag is going to hold it together like everybody else, man. And you're sitting there teaching kids or anybody else to do that. And as you pull that all together, I swear to God, I think that's the greatest thing, other than being the best husband, the best father. I talked to somebody earlier today and they texted me this, and they said exactly this: "You're a good man." And my reply to that was simply this: that should be the number one goal of any man during their lifetime on the face of this earth, is to have somebody look at them and say, you are a good man. And I really do believe, regardless of the accolades or anything else that anybody has accumulated in their life, if a person, when they go to the grave, on their headstone at the bottom of that says, quote, "They were a good man," who would not want that on their headstone at the end of their life? Regardless of race, creed, color, regardless if you were the president of something, regardless of what you accomplished, to see that on a headstone of which during your time on the face of this earth, humanity as a whole looked at you and quantified your life and existence, the short one we all have on this earth, that was truncated down to, he was a good man. I don't know if it gets anything better than that. So to live a life worthy of that service and sacrifice, in going about your daily business every day, in helping others, and to do that, I really do believe there is no one great accomplishment, to answer your question, that I can put my finger on and say it's that. It is the greatest accomplishment to me, is trying to live a life worthy of that time on this earth throughout numerous chapters in your own book of life, to not get to the other end on your deathbed to go, well, you know, chapter 3 was really the best time of my life. Or, you know, chapter 6 is where I did this really great thing in life. No two human beings have ever walked the face of the earth, even identical twins, that's been exactly alike. Their circumstances are different. So there's no blueprint for any of this. So if you can just live that kind of a life through every hurdle and chapter, through your teens, your 20s, into your 30s, into when you have kids and a family, into when you give up your first job you've had for 30 years and consider retirement, move into retirement, move into the elderly portion and that, and you can look back and go, I'm telling you, man, there wasn't any one of those chapters that was any greater than any other one, because they all needed to be good in their own way at the time they were, to accomplish exactly what it was in your life. And I believe that's my greatest accomplishment, is trying to weave that fluoride in the water to tell people, you may have been the greatest state athlete that ever threw a javelin in 1994. That wasn't the pinnacle of your life. There is something else. Continue to do that. And by the time that you get into your 30s, you're going to look back and go, man, all that stress I put myself through when I was 18 and 17, I'm now looking at it from when I'm a 34-year-old father or something. And then you sit there as a coach and try to not only tell people on a football field or that, this is what I need you to do, but the best coaches I ever knew in life, man, were the guy like grab you by the face mask and get over here and kind of go like, you're not yourself today. What is wrong? And then sit there and listen and go, you know, I was raised by my grandfather, and my grandfather died last week, but I wasn't allowed to go to his funeral. That kind of affects me today. And the coach is like, hey, brother, I can feel you, man. We're going to get this. We're going to get through this together. You're going to get through that. And then you find out when coaches apply that same thing, or your neighbors apply that same thing, or your mentors apply that same thing, you really find out, man, that nobody ever gets to the end of their life worrying about that phrase that Ronald Reagan uttered years ago, specifically to Marines. It said this: a lot of people go through their entire existence in this world wondering if they have ever made a difference. The United States Marines don't have that problem.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Race, what are you most proud of?
Not to totally piggyback and copy Justin, but first and foremost, being a father and being a husband is probably the thing I'm most proud about, and definitely has filled that, what's that identity? What's that? Am I a football player? Am I a physician? Am I a Navy sailor? Am I a Navy diver? And it really, not to be cliche, but having a family and the value system that I grew up with is really the most thing I'm proud about, and that is my identity. And kind of like Justin said, do I care? Does anybody care how many yards I rushed for back in whatever year? I'm worried about, oh man, what am I doing next week? I mean, I know the best years of my life are still ahead of me. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up, and what my wife and I are going to do, and, what our kids are going to do. And at the end of the day, I think I can attribute a lot of that to how my parents raised me, and growing up in a small community like Columbus Grove. I just think there's something special about it. You look back and, yeah, you took off days to go hunting. You were shoveling sidewalks before you went to school. You were in the summer, you might work landscaping, but today, guess what? You're roofing a house. And do you know how to roof a house? Probably not, but you're going to figure it out. And those lessons that you learn in a small town, not locking your doors, and everybody knowing your name, that serves a couple purposes. You had a community that supported you, and you also had a community that your parents knew that there were more eyes on you than when they weren't around. So I think taking that value system is important for myself and my wife, and hopefully doing half the job as what I had and I can give to my children, and push that forward. And I think, just keep harping back on it. And so, when I talk to my young corpsmen that I'm in charge of, and I talk to about, where are they at in their life? They're 18 to 24 years old. They got their entire lives. They could have 4 lives of careers ahead of them. And the only thing I have other than keeping them and their family safe, my only goal is, am I going to return a young man or woman back to their community, and they're going to be a good member of that community and be a good husband or wife or father? And because their time in service, just like their time in sports, is going to end. And, if we can have some fun and they can have a good experience while they're in, my goal for all people I work with is in 10 years that they run into me, are they going to call me LT or Doc still? And I have that relationship with coaches. I still call Chris Grotehouse Coach Grote still. And I haven't got set foot on a track and done 300 hurdles in 15 years, 20 years. So, I think that's the type of relationship and the influence, especially coaches, have on young people. And that's your first real role model, and people holding your feet to the fire, and there's actual repercussions. So yeah, so that's my goal moving forward, and with the people I work with. And, can I grab a beer or a non-alcoholic beverage with them in 10 years, and they can still call me Lieutenant or Doc, and we can have a great relationship? And did I do right by them? And, I get to come home and answer that question to my wife, and she'll shoot me the honest truth if I did a good job that day. And I'm proud to be in a relationship to where I'm held accountable, even when I maybe think I'm right when I'm definitely not.
You guys, I could just sit here and just listen to you guys. And there's about 50 more questions I wanted to ask about our military and training and commander in chief and different things like that. But it's going to have to be another time.
Yeah, Coach Schafer's got to get his guys back to Columbus Grove. Some folks have school tomorrow, I know. But Race and Justin, thank you guys. Thank you. I know thank you is never going to be enough for folks like you two. You're heroes to us. Thank you so much. And next time you're in Northwest Ohio, let us know. I'll buy you guys dinner and a couple beverages.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you guys. Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Coach Schafer, thank you for setting this up, and give me some of your thoughts on what you've heard tonight.
It's been great. I mean, I love just sitting back and hearing their perspective. Certainly the first half when we had some guys up here, but also, your guys' perspective, because, I didn't serve, and I want to make sure that we do this right. It's more than just a military appreciation football game. It means something different in Columbus Grove, and I've gotten a taste of that living in this community, and I appreciate you guys just dropping everything, and I'll be on some podcast in Liberty Center on a Monday night, and
Wow.
that's pretty special.
Oh.
And thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you guys. I think a lot of people that I know it moved me, and I think the people that listen to this and watch this are going to be moved too by your words. So thank you guys very, very much. We appreciate it. We'll be back next Monday with the 2005 Patrick Henry State Championship team on our KK Collision football show. Have a great week. Thank you, everybody.